Awesome. It looks like we are live. Yes, 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 we are live. Well, I am just so incredibly excited for we are already at episode 10. I can't even believe it, but I'm super excited for episode 10 and we have a really amazing guest today on the Liberation Lounge where we have real talk with real women because here at the April Joy Media Group, we're all about elevating voices to lead important conversations and we do that by telling stories of power, perseverance, and purpose. And we've got a purpose driven woman today, which I am so incredibly excited to have. Such a dear friend of mine, and we're going to be leading a really important conversation today, y'all. And this conversation is around wellness. And if there's ever a time that we need to be focusing on our wellness with all of the stressors that we have in the world today, it is now. So, without further ado, ladies and our ally gentlemen that love to tune into the Liberation Lounge, please give some love to my dear friend and sister, Jen Beck from Complete Health Revolution. How you doing today, Jen?
Hey, good, April. It's so great to be here with you.
Awesome, awesome. Well, it is so great to have you and thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to spend some time with our listeners today. So, let's just jump right into it. This topic really came to me because I think it's so important that especially obviously we speak to women, mostly women in midlife, but of course there will be a few men that will be tuning in here today. But I think it's especially important for women that are in that midlife phase to really begin to understand how we can take better control over our overall wellness. And this thought really came to me because I think we often underestimate how our physical wellness is impacting our mental wellness and how our mental wellness is impacting our physical wellness. And I remember years ago, Jen, I had posted something on Facebook because I had released a huge emotional weight. And when I released that emotional weight, I lost like 7 pounds in like 2 weeks without changing anything else in my diet or in my exercise plan. And I remember you commented on that post and you said, yeah, when we release those emotional weights, we also are automatically releasing a lot of physical weight. And so that's really what drove me to be able to have this topic today. And so I hope we'll get an opportunity to speak to that. But as we get things kicked off today, maybe you could just tell our listeners a little bit more about you, your background, and how you really got into this line of work.
Yeah, so it's been a journey, and I think that with anything that we're passionate about, there's some personal roots to it. I started my career about 25 years ago in nutrition. At the time, I was living like most 20-year-olds do. I was, drinking coffee and Diet Mountain Dew because a girl's got to watch her weight. And I mean, for me, I was living on carbs and caffeine and sugar and fast food. Like I did not come from a nutrition background, if you will. I grew up in the Midwest in the 80s, so we ate a lot of, Salisbury steak out of the freezer, can of green beans, can of cream corn, instant potatoes kind of stuff. And when I was growing up, though, my mom had multiple sclerosis. And so she did the best that she could with, providing for us and giving us, they were balanced meals. It may not be nutritionally dense, in my opinion, now, but at the time they were good balanced meals. And, but so she did the best that she could with her energy. She was raising 3 kids. She ran the bookkeeping for my dad's business. And then I was about 25, 26, and my mom went through a series of relapses where she went from living on her own to being in a nursing home in 6 weeks.
Wow.
She was 49 years old.
Mm.
And I will never forget the day that the call came in. And my brother called me on an average Tuesday afternoon. He's like, hey, Jen, it's time. And I'm like, time for what? He's like, time to put mom in a nursing home. I'm like, what 49-year-old needs to be in a nursing home? And he goes, well, a 49-year-old who's fallen out of a wheelchair for the last 6 weeks, and this time she got stuck underneath it, the fire department had to break in and rescue her.
Oh my gosh.
So 2 days later, we're sorting in my mom's possessions and everything that she was, when you downsize, you gotta go, okay, storage, going with me, Goodwill, garbage. And everything that we asked her, what do you want to do with this, was I want to take it with me. It was her, her possessions, her livelihood, her identity. And in that moment, I remember watching her lose her life. You know, she didn't pass away until she was almost 65, but that day it was like she just gave up.
Mhm.
And I remember standing there going, I will do whatever I can to help her and also make sure I'm not going to end up in the same scenario. Because my mom had MS, so did her mom, and so did my mom's sister.
Wow.
They say it's not genetic, but well, I don't want to go there. So
Yeah.
I started looking for ways to help my mom and myself. And I ended up I attended this workshop being taught by a pharmacist, and his wife had had MS for 26 years, the same amount of time as my mom.
Mhm.
And after the workshop, I see the two of them literally waltzing across the ballroom. This woman's untouched. And I was like,
Wow.
what? My mom had been walking with a cane since I was probably 7 or 8. And
Mhm.
I got a chance to meet her. I'm like, what drugs are you on? Because my mom needs to be on whatever you're on because your results are so much better than hers. And she stood
Mhm.
there looking at me confused. And she's like, well, I'm not on any medications.
Mm.
I'm like, you're not? She goes, no, my husband didn't believe in them. Your husband,
Wow.
the pharmacist,
Pharmacist.
didn't believe in the drugs. She's like, now
Right.
the population studies were too short and too small, and the side effects basically outweighed the benefits. What did you do? And she goes, I just took care of my body. I did diet, supplements, and exercise. And I told you what we ate, and
Mhm.
my mom had done supplements for like 6 months and said, they're too expensive. I'm not doing them. They don't work anyhow. And I don't remember her ever exercising. So I started researching, like, what if my mom had done what this woman had done? Would her results have been different?
Mhm.
Sure enough, the more research I did, the more I saw people reversing MS and heart disease and cancer and diabetes and fibromyalgia. Literally, like every disease I thought was a life sentence once you get the diagnosis, people were reversing by changing their diet and lifestyle.
Yeah.
So that's when I went back to school for nutrition. And based on what I learned and the certification I got and everything else, we were able to get my mom out of the nursing home into a group home.
Mm.
And like I said, she passed just before her 65th. And the doctors and nurses that took care of her said that we extended her life by at least 5, if not 10 years, and
Wow.
tremendously improved the quality of life that she had while she was
Yeah.
still alive. And
Wow.
so for me, the work that I do in the nutrition and wellness side of things is really like that's where the passion comes from. Because
Mhm.
I made it in that, with my mom's scenario, I'm like, if I can help one family keep a parent from going into a nursing home prematurely,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
all worth it. And I've been able to
Yeah.
help thousands of people do that. And then, I incorporate, you and I talked a lot about like that
Mhm.
emotional side of things and the weight that we
Yeah.
carry and how that plays a role. And I, was tooling through life and then found myself in a bad marriage where I had put myself on a shelf and I allowed all of my childhood baggage to come into my marriage. And I was just in this
Mhm.
place of anxiety and depression and overworking and over responsible and just doing everything for everyone.
Yep.
And just found myself at the lowest point, going through the motions. And, somebody goes, when was the last time you did something for you?
Mhm.
I couldn't remember
Right.
because I had just been going and doing.
Yeah.
And I had been introduced to somebody at a networking meeting who does emotional healing.
Mhm.
And he said, do you want a session? And I was like,
Okay.
sure. And that was the start of it because I felt such a shift after that first session where it's really, affirmations are awesome. They get in your brain, but
Yep.
the negative beliefs are still there.
Mhm.
And the modality I use, we actually dissolve and remove the negative belief and install the positive as if it's always been there. So it completely
Powerful.
changes the filter of how
Mhm.
we see the world, of how we show up in it, and remove and dissolve the negative emotions that we've been carrying around in our 1,000-pound backpack.
Yes.
And so now I really get to help women transform, and a few brave men,
Yeah.
to transform from being stuck in that, overweight, overwhelmed, exhausted from overgiving, stuck
Mhm.
place, regardless if they're doing all the right things, they just aren't getting the results. And to be able to help them completely transform to a place where they wake up every morning feeling amazing, excited to
Mhm.
take on the day, and really are naturally putting themselves in a priority place in their lives. And they're
Yep.
creating the results and 10xing their business and leading their teams and just are thriving on such an amazing level because we heal what's under and empower them to take ownership of how they feel on a daily basis through really simple strategic changes.
I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. Y'all, if you are enjoying this conversation, drop some love hearts in the comments because such a powerful story, right? And I do believe what you said that we experience different things in life, and when we do, that's often what drives us into the next phase, right? And then just being able to help people literally heal from their trauma and allow that to dovetail into how they take care of themselves on a physical level as well is so incredibly empowering. And so I'm so excited to dig even deeper into this conversation today. So let's kind of go off of that emotional healing angle, and I want you to talk about how do women in midlife really liberate themselves from the trauma of body shaming?
Mm,
Because this is a big one,
it,
right?
it
But
is big.
whether we experience it like in high school, or we are constantly comparing ourselves in this crazy age of social media where everybody seems to have this picture perfect body. So, what are some things that, in your opinion, that you found really work to heal ourselves from body shaming?
Yeah, I will tell you that the first thing that we get to do is create some acceptance and self love.
Mm, that's good.
You know, it's we. So I worked with a gal a couple years ago, and she was in her mid 60s and
Hmm.
had spent most of her life comparing herself to everyone else around her. She'd go out to
Hmm.
dinner with friends, and she'd feel good walking out the door, but then she'd get there, and she's like, "Oh, her outfit's much cuter." God,
Yeah.
she can eat anything she wants and she doesn't gain an ounce. And here I look at a cupcake and I am like 5 pounds heavier. And
Yeah.
so, comparison, like we've heard, comparison is a thief of joy. It
Hmm.
is. And it doesn't matter if you're comparing yourself and making yourself better than or less
Hmm.
than. They
Hmm.
both suck. It's creating a lose lose situation, a win lose situation. So,
Yep.
when we can really honor ourselves and just love on ourselves and accept where we are right now, it is so, it shifts our energy. It
Yep.
shifts how we look at ourselves. And when we can go, you know what? I feel good about me. Now,
Mm.
I will tell you that I didn't always feel that way,
Yep.
right? There
Mhm.
are, I was giraffe legs by first grade. I'm six
Yep.
one.
Hmm.
Fifth grade, I was too tall, braces, bad hair, glasses, and I got physically bullied by boys.
Hmm.
Like I went through all of that, and then there's the dating, and then the weight gain, like all of the things.
Hmm.
And so I can look back and see all those pieces. And the thing that I know to be true, by healing at an unconscious level and creating some acts of self-love for myself, I was able to heal that and get to a place of acceptance and appreciation.
Mm.
One of the challenges I give to the ladies that I work with is to stand in front of the mirror buck naked,
Yep.
full length mirror. And you may not go, "Oh my God, I love the way I look." But you know what you can do? I am so grateful for those strong legs that I have that can
Yes.
carry me wherever I go.
Hmm.
I am so grateful for these arms. And I love the fact that I have extra here because I get to wrap that around the people that I
Yeah.
care about and that I love. I
Hmm.
love this belly because it gave me my daughter,
That's right.
right? And when we can find true appreciation for
Mm.
what we do have and we love ourselves, our body responds.
Yes.
Here's the thing, we're training ourselves how to feel and what to believe. If we
Yep.
were going to train a dog to sit,
Hmm.
are we going to give it a treat if it sits? Are we going to yell at it if it doesn't? Are we going to
Hmm.
berate it? Are we going to tie it up outside? Are we going to kick it if it doesn't do what we want it to do the first time?
Hmm. Hmm.
I would venture to say 99.9% of the population would say no. then why is it that when we don't have the physique we want, we yell at our body? We
Yeah.
shame it, we beat it up, we beat ourselves up, we just destroy ourselves at an emotional level
Yeah.
because our body isn't what we want it to be. Instead of going, God, you know what? I am so grateful for this vessel, this body that I got to
Yes.
have.
Yes.
And just like with a puppy, if you want it to do what you want it to do, you give it treats.
Yes.
We get to give ourselves treats too, ourselves
So
today as well
good.
as our younger.
So good, Jen. And I think you said something very powerful there that I don't want anybody to miss. And what you shared was how our bodies actually are responding to what we say, right? And so this is all happening, y'all, on a cellular level. I think we underestimate the whole mind, body, spirit connection, right? And we've got to understand that your cells are listening. Your cells are listening to what you say. So be conscious of that and really do have that deep appreciation and to acknowledge the fact that we get to, I love how you said that, we get to have this body, right? And how we're treating it and how we're speaking to it and how we're loving on it has a lot to do with how it responds to what we want it to do. Right? And so, so good, Jen, so good. So maybe you can take a minute and just really explain to our listeners how emotional trauma can lead to physical weight and how that creates real challenges in our health. So, not just physical weight, but just physical ailments, physical challenges. So, maybe you can just speak a little bit to that kind of that emotional and physical connection.
Yeah. Well, so I'm going to start with safety because safety is one of the things that I think is most prevalent, or lack of safety is
Mhm.
so prevalent across most women. So if our bodies are not safe, it wraps us in layers of protection,
Mm.
literally and emotionally.
Yeah.
Right? We're in relationships going like this. No, I really want to get to know you. I really do. Just don't get too
Yeah.
close.
Yeah.
We create ourselves a layer of protection so we are less noticeable. I experience
Mhm.
this a lot with women that have lost weight and gained weight, and lost weight and gained weight, and lost weight and gained weight. And
Yeah.
when I ask them how they feel when they start getting attention, when they
Mhm.
lose the weight, they go, "Ooh, like it doesn't feel good. I don't like being the center of attention. I feel vulnerable. I don't like that." No
Mhm.
wonder our brain goes, "Okay, this is dangerous. I'm gonna go back over here and eat some donuts because then I can be able to go back into blending in. I can
Yeah.
go back into the wallflower status."
Mhm.
Not
Mhm.
to mention when we don't have an innate sense of safety, our body stays in fight or flight, which
Mhm.
drives our cortisol levels, which
Yes.
then tells our body to store fat.
Yes.
And so it happens on a physical level and an emotional level. And there are
Mhm.
things that we're not even aware of. You could be a baby and mom's milk didn't come in right away, and you were
Mhm.
allergic or sensitive to the formula. So you weren't getting enough nourishment as an infant.
Mhm.
The inclination to overeat throughout adulthood is like 10x because we're trying to make sure that we get enough.
Wow. Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it's something it's not even on our radar, but it is stored in our body as an operating system.
Yes.
I need to make sure I always have enough. And they may be an excessive shopper, they may be an excessive eater, they may
Mhm.
have cravings that they give into because their body is sending a signal, I need more.
Mhm.
And so we can take a drug which will modify our body, but it's not addressing the root cause.
Yeah.
And so when we can really address the emotional and energetic root cause of
Mhm.
what we're experiencing on a daily basis, it changes everything. When we can
Everything.
when we can reprogram the brain from the world as a dangerous and unfriendly place to the
Yeah.
world as a safe and friendly place.
Hmm.
It changes how we show up, how we interact, how we relate, how we take care of ourselves on so many levels.
So good. So good. So you know what's coming to my mind right now, Jen, is after I filed for divorce, I left, I started my life over, and everyone around me, and even strangers, people that I didn't know, and then we would just be having a conversation. I'm out at a restaurant or a cocktail lounge, and men and women would just say, "You're glowing, glowing." And I got that, so still get it, right? And that's when I really began to understand what begins to happen when we make the right choices for our emotional health and for our well-being. It literally comes through on a physical level. It literally comes through. And that's really a big part of what you were just speaking to, right?
Yeah.
Is how what we're experiencing on an emotional level is really and truly impacting us on a physical level, and how these two are so closely interrelated. Y'all, this conversation is just blowing my mind right now. I hope this is so impactful for you as well. So I know we are coming to the end of this show. We only got about 8 minutes left, and I'm like, oh, we're running out of time. So let's talk about a couple other things. So let's just talk about simple strategies that anyone can implement. What would you say are the three simplest things that we all can do to just feel more energized, feel more alive, feel more ready for the day? Just three simple tips that you can give our listeners.
Yeah. Number one is water. Half your body weight in ounces of water on a daily basis, right? Like, bigger the cup, the more you drink.
Mm-hmm.
So I will tell you that if you have a headache, drink some water. If you have some digestive issues, drink some water. If you've got joint pain, drink some water. If you are overweight, drink some water. If you're constipated, like anything, start with water first. Dehydration is the number one reason for afternoon fatigue.
Mm.
So instead of grabbing the coffee or the soda, go drink a glass of water. Just notice how you feel. And this is coming from somebody who used to drink a half a pot of coffee and
Yeah.
about 40 to 60 ounces of Diet Mountain Dew a day. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how much caffeine you're drinking, go drink water. You'll feel better.
Right.
The second thing is turn off your technology an hour before you go to bed. Your
Mm.
phone, your TV, your tablet, your computer, that blue light stimulates your brain for an hour after
Mm.
you turn it off. Not to
Wow.
mention, you're thinking about all the things that you just read or did right before you turned it off. So give
Yeah.
yourself an hour from any technology whatsoever. Read a book, do some meditation, just go to bed and take some deep breathing. You'll be amazed at how quickly you fall asleep in comparison to when you still have technology on.
Yeah.
And then I would say the third thing is your nutrition, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because our energy really does come from physical. That's where it starts. So the more balanced you can be able to have your meals for your metabolic design. We're all different. There is 101 different dietary theories, and there is not 101 versions of you. So you got to find what works best for you. And
Yep.
that's part of the work that I do with clients when we're looking at their nutrition. We're personalizing it for food sensitivities, for their metabolic design, and for how they really thrive. Because April, once you know what foods work for your body, it's like,
Yep.
oh, I'm going to eat these. They make me feel good. I'm
Yep.
not going to eat these, or at least as much of these, because they don't
Mm-hmm.
make me feel good. And I'm not
Mm-hmm.
talking about sugar and processed foods. I'm talking about, I have a client with Crohn's, and she was drinking a smoothie every day with blueberries
Mm-hmm.
and almond milk and spinach and healthy smoothie, but she was sensitive to the blueberries and the almond milk.
Yep.
So something healthy wasn't good for her. So
Yep.
personalizing it, but having the blend of protein, veggies, and fats with each meal will
Mm-hmm.
stabilize your energy levels and really nurture and nourish your body so that it has the opportunity to thrive because your cells will be healthy.
Absolutely. It's all happening on a cellular level. It's not even about how one is looking on the outside, because I'm sure you've met a lot of really thin people who are still extremely unhealthy,
Yes.
right? Yes. And so that is a thing, y'all. Just because someone is thin and they look good on the outside does not mean on a cellular level. Those are the same people who can have heart disease and it's all happening on a cellular level. So those are really, really good tips. I hope everybody drop those in the comments on Facebook so we can have those logs. So that was really, really powerful. And so this is off script, but it's because I've heard it 3 times in the last week, okay? And I'm just curious, what is your opinion on fasting? Because I have a lot of friends that are fasting right now, okay? Like people are doing Daniel fasts and people are doing spiritual fasts and some people are doing a water fast or they're doing the lemonade diet fast. Like I'm just curious from your experience because you've been doing this work for a long time. What is your thoughts? What are your thoughts? What are your opinions on fasting just in general?
Yeah, I think fasting can be very beneficial. If
Okay.
you are somebody that is eating a typical American diet, though, do not start a 5-day fast, right? Ease into it. For women, especially women of a more mature age, if you will,
Yes. Hmm.
when we go into fasting, if you go too fast and fast too much, you can actually put your body into a fear-based mode where it goes into starvation mode and it
Hmm.
starts storing things. It changes your hormonal structure.
Yep.
So work with somebody to understand what level of intensity your body is would be beneficial for you right now. Are
Yeah.
there tons of values to fasting? Yes. If
Hmm.
you've never done it before, start with intermittent fasting, like 1 day a week.
Yep.
Push your breakfast back to noon 1 day a week. See
Hmm.
how you handle that. Then do it a couple days. For most women, 3, maybe 4 days a week at most. For most women. I've
Hmm.
done 5-day fasts, which are incredibly restorative.
Yep.
And the biggest caveat I'll say, April, is what are you doing it for?
Hmm.
If you're going to starve yourself for 5 days trying to lose weight, I would not recommend that.
Yep.
If you're fasting, I mean, I grew up Catholic, so we fasted from meat on
Yeah.
Friday night and we gave up candy for 40 days.
Right.
There's every level of fasting that you can do. The biggest piece is really understanding what your reason for doing it is and where your body is at right now and what's ideal for you. Fasting in general can be super restorative. Doing a 5-day fast actually helps to clean up all of the half dead cells in our body and make
Yep.
lots of new stem cells.
Hmm.
For somebody who's on a standard American diet, there's other ways to support stem cell production instead of going on a 5-day fast where you're like, I can't handle this and my body isn't really sure what the heck I'm doing.
Yep.
So everything is so personalized. Work with a professional, work with a practitioner, and understand what works best for you. But if you want to start exploring it, start getting protein, veggies, and fat. So you're optimizing your nutrition first, then start doing intermittent fasting and start there
Very
and maybe
good.
step in.
Very good. Such good advice. Such good advice. I just wanted to bring that up because I literally have been at different networking events over the last week and someone's like, "Oh, no, I'm not drinking because I'm fasting," or "Oh, no, I'm on the Daniel fast." And then I just got another email about somebody else starting a group fast. And I'm like, "Man, everybody's fasting right now."
It's the new
Right?
January.
It's the new dry January. It's like fasting in March. So really interesting. So two final questions before we wrap up.
Yeah.
The first question I wanna ask you and just kind of dig in a little bit on is hormones, right? So especially as we start getting over 40, there's like all these questions that women have about their hormones, right? And I thought I was coming into perimenopause, which my doctor's like, "You're not, April. You're not there yet." And I'm like, "I'm 46. What do you mean I'm not in perimenopause?" And so all the questions that women have around how their hormones adjust as they start to get older, the whole, progesterone and what's going on with that. Can you provide any level of clarity to women in midlife about what's going on with their hormones as they
Oh,
get older?
yes. I actually just did a talk on this last week for an organization. And here's the thing. Menopause does not need to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like I went through menopause. I had 12 hot flashes and I had probably 2 days of hormone crazy pants,
Yep.
right? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Where like
Yep.
all of a sudden, blah, 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 rage. Okay, I'm back to normal. And all of it's like, what just happened? Um, and it wasn't painful because I have taken care of my body.
Yes.
So there's two things to really consider. One is the things that we've talked about so far today. Really loving on your body, nurturing and nourishing yourself, really getting to a place where you are taking care of yourself. Your liver health is one of the most important things because if your liver is congested
Yes.
with perfumes and toxins and processed foods, and you have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which
Mm-hmm.
40% of us have in this country. And so you're not able to process and regulate your hormones effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention all of that stuff. Also, there's so much of it that creates that contain xenohormones, which are
Yep.
chemicals that mimic estrogen in our body.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's throwing off our hormonal levels anyhow. So you may have a normal level of progesterone, but you have way high levels of fake estrogen in your body. But
Mm-hmm.
on your labs, it'll look like it's all estrogen, right? So now you're estrogen dominant, which tells your body to store fat, which just regulates your hormones and
Yeah.
so on and so forth. So it doesn't have to be painful though. And it does not mean that you are no longer needed or wanted. It does not mean that you're ready to be put out to pasture. It does not
Mm-hmm.
mean that you're not good enough or there's fear of the future or there is guilt or there is unworthiness, which is the emotional roots of menopausal symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
Many women carry all of these things because of our mass media and society when we go into
Yes.
menopause. So I
Yep.
want you to know that if you have those beliefs, working on that
Mm-hmm.
will decrease your menopausal symptoms.
Very
Nourishing
good.
and nurturing your body, lots of cruciferous vegetables, broccoli
Mm-hmm.
and cauliflower and Brussels sprouts and all of that scrub estrogen from your body. Like there are so many things that we can do to support our body during menopause where you can feel like you went from having your cycle, a few hot flashes, and then you're done.
Yep.
It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to be painful, but if you're experiencing that, please reach out. Know that it
Yes.
doesn't have to be that way, and know that you don't need a medication to balance them for you.
Good.
You don't have to go on HRT or bioidentical or pellets or any of
Yeah.
those things to balance out your body. Menopause is a natural process. It's
Yep.
all of the stuff we've done for the last 40 or plus years
Yep.
that is creating a lot of the things that we're experiencing today. And we
So
get to
good.
just thrive.
So good. So good. So, ladies, you do need to make sure that you are partnered with a qualified practitioner to be able to assist you through that process. So I really do want to encourage everybody to be sure that you take that step. Don't try and take matters into your own hands and just say, "Ah, I'm just going to bear this out, right? Or figure it out on my own." You don't have to. You don't have to. There are people out there like Jen who are there to be able to support you through that transition. So, my last question is on organic versus not organic. Okay. I went on your food grocery tour many, many years ago and I learned about this. But and I know there's interesting things going on right now about our food supply and what's really happening with food, whether it's organic or not organic, and is it really organic, and just all of that conversation around organic versus non-organic. Maybe you can just speak to that really briefly as we wrap up.
Briefly. Got 2 hours?
Yeah.
So I'll try and give you the cliff notes.
Okay.
So when you buy organic, you
Hmm.
are not getting genetically modified foods. You are not getting glyphosate, aka Roundup, the most deadly weed killer, which
Yep.
destroys our guts, impacts our hormones, you name it.
Yep.
You are not getting animals that have been fed Roundup Ready corn and soy, which are driving up a lot of the inflammation and gut health issues that we have.
Yeah.
It's when you buy organic, you are buying what you are not getting in our foods.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
equivalent of our organic is what most people eat standard in Europe,
Right.
right? In the
True.
average American grocery store, there are 40,000 food like products. I won't even
Hmm.
say foods because there's probably 150 foods, and then everything else is a food-like substance that has been packaged, promoted, and sold as food. Like I grew up on Velveeta. Velveeta is
Right.
no longer cheese. It is a cheese or a cheese-like product. I forget exactly what the verbiage is
Yeah.
on there.
Hmm.
And so the more organic that you buy, the less stuff that you get that impacts your health in a negative way.
Hmm.
Does it have to be organic all the time? It doesn't. I mean, if I go to a restaurant, there's like two in the city that have organic
Right.
foods. Like
Hmm.
it's not, especially in Cincinnati, it is not on the
Yep.
forefront. So a huge part of buying organic is making sure that you're getting an upgraded quality. It
Hmm.
does not mean that organic cookies are good for you though,
Right.
right? They're still cookies.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
as much as possible, we want to eat whole foods. Foods that if your grandmother saw it, she'd be like, oh, that's a broccoli, that's a chicken
Yeah.
breast versus that's a, I don't know what that is, right?
Yeah.
So, one ingredient foods. In our house, we call them alive foods because at
Hmm.
one point in time, they were alive. They grew in
Yes.
a plant or they ate a plant.
Hmm.
How do we
Hmm.
get to as much nourishment as we possibly can? So
Yeah.
organic gives us an upgrade, good, better, and best.
Yeah.
We're really looking at how do we nurture and nourish our bodies the best that we can. You may not always be able to afford organic in everything,
Hmm.
but meat especially, meat and fish especially when you can do organic, grass-fed, wild caught.
Hmm.
And there's a list out there called the Dirty Dozen. If you Google it, it will come up.
Yep.
And it
Hmm.
tells you the 12 foods and produce that have the highest level of pesticides and herbicides.
Yep.
Start there. Eat as many whole foods as possible. Avoid the Dirty Dozen, like buy the Dirty Dozen as organic, and then
Yep.
upgrade the meat quality that you're using too.
So good. So good, y'all. This was not just a brief conversation. This was like a whole workshop, okay, on on emotional healing, hormones, how to eat better, organic, the ties between your physical well-being and your emotional well-being, so incredibly powerful. So Jen, for those that would like to continue the conversation with you and either work directly with you or get connected to you, what does that look like and what steps can they take to do that?
Yeah, so you can absolutely go to my website. There are a ton of resources that are on there, which is completehealthrevolution.com. You can find me on social, Jen Beck or Jen Beck Complete Health. And then April, for those that are like, I'm ready for change. They are hungry for change. Not just like, I need to lose 20 pounds so I fit in my dress, but like,
Right.
I want to feel amazing and I'm ready to tap into it and do the work.
Mhm.
I have a
Mhm.
couple slots that I open up each week for what I call a barrier breakthrough session. And this is
Mm.
where we go, where are you at right now? What are your goals? And then I help you identify what's standing in the way. Is it
Mm.
knowledge? Is it emotional? Is it mental? Is it logistical? What are the pieces that are holding you back, that are keeping you from reaching your goals? Whether
Yeah.
that's physical, relational, career, whatever. We look at what is
Yeah.
in the gap. And then we create an action plan so that you know what your next best step is.
Good.
And then we can look at,
Awesome.
if you want additional support and how to be able to make that happen. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
$500 value,
Yeah.
but I am so committed to being able to help people create a life that they love, that they are in
Yeah.
love with, and then
Yeah.
having the energy and the health to go out and live it and enjoy it. That's why I
Yeah.
offer a couple of these free each week so that those that are ready, they can get the
Yeah.
help that they need.
So good. Y'all, please take advantage of that. Again, for those that are ready. That's the emphasis, right? For those
Yes.
that are ready. Okay. I encourage you
Yeah.
to take advantage of that and be sure that you follow Jen. And you do your lives. What days do you do your lives, Jen? On
Wednesday. Yep,
Wednesday.
Wednesday at
Okay.
11 Eastern.
Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. So, y'all, please connect with Jen, tap into her lives that she does, take advantage of the barrier breakthrough for those that are ready. And we so look forward to you living, we say living your best life, but it's just living a whole life, WHOLE, right?
Yeah.
Meaning you're whole in your mind, your body, and your spirit, and you're whole in your emotions. And that's really what we desire for you. So, Jen, thank you so much for taking time to share your expertise and your knowledge today. I am so excited for all of our listeners who are going to take some of the things that you talked about tonight and really implement them in real time in their life, and so that they can experience the life that they truly want. And so, ladies and gentlemen, episode 10 is a